Hello, listeners. I'm Timstradamus, and it's Wednesday. And with me, as always, is my talented and beautiful co-hostess, Voyse.
Good morning, Timstradamus, and welcome all listeners to Wednesday, where, haven't you noticed, it's kind of the anti-holiday? I've never heard of a holiday being on a Wednesday.
That's actually true. I don't know if No. Wow, Wednesday is terrible. Voyse and I enjoy reading and talking about stories from the internet that are interesting, funny, and dramatic. Because of our love of stories, we've come together and created this channel to share with you those experiences.
And hopefully give you some food for thought.
Well, let's jump right into these stories while I enjoy my morning cup of brew.
What are you going to enjoy today?
What is it again? Rosehip hibiscus tea.
That sounds amazing. A little fruity, and it can help... Oh.
This is fantastic. This tastes like dragon fruit.
Oh.
That's dangerous.
That is. It actually helps with lowering your cholesterol and protects your heart. But unfortunately, I'm going to have to feed you some of these rich stories I have for you today.
I'm ready.
For any listeners wanting to follow along, all story links are in the description below. For our first story, would I be the a-hole if I turned my friend in for cheating? My friend, 23 female, and I, 24 female, are roommates and also classmates. Over the past year, I have watched her become increasingly lazy and irresponsible to the point I don't want to live with her anymore. When we first moved in together, she was pretty laid back like me. Lately, she's constantly having guests over and letting them stay over late into the night when she knows I am in bed by 9 or 10 and am up at 6 a.m. for work. She's getting drunk and generally not pulling her weight around the house despite me repeatedly asking her to actually clean up. My peace and quiet are non-existent at this point. That's already bad enough, but the last straw has been her slacking at school and expecting me to help her. She's barely paying attention and going to class hungover, so of course she's not learning all that much. Now she wants me to share my homework answers with her and plagiarize my work, and I'm so aghast that she would even ask. How entitled do you have to be to ask someone to give away what they actually put in the effort for? She's self-destructing fast enough and now plans to pay someone for answers. I'm just about fed up with this nonsense and have half a mind to clue our teacher in. I just don't have patience for irresponsible BS, and she doesn't deserve to skate by while the rest of us actually do what we're supposed to. There's just no excuse, and it's not okay. If I'm being honest, I am hoping she would get booted from school and then would have no reason to live with me anymore. But that's neither here nor there. She doesn't deserve to be in class if she's not committed to it. Would I be the a-hole? Should I let her suffer the consequences whenever they do finally catch up to her?
Okay. So for clarification, OP's 24 and friend in question is 23.
Correct.
They've been living together. Is it a dorm, apartment, house situation? I'm not sure.
From how I gather it, it feels like a dorm situation.
Okay. So this is an easy situation that she can ask a RA if she can just move out.
Yeah, essentially.
Okay. I would definitely recommend that first. If she's doing stuff that you don't like and it's actually impeding upon your sleep, because it sounds like that's what's happening now, is she's inviting people over.
Just not being considerate.
Yeah, it sounds like you're better off either getting a new roommate or living in a different situation. So I guess we'll tackle this. She's saying her roommate has gotten to the point where she's now cheating, like openly just going, look, I'm going to pay anyone who will do my work for me.
Correct.
That is not okay. Especially if you're going to be as blatantly open about that as it sounds like she's,
You're not asking for notes. You're just like, just
do my work. Plagiarism is terrible. And yeah, normally the way I go about it is, as I grew up, I kind of let people dig the hole for themselves and let time catch up. But I can also understand that someone who's busting their butt, getting through life, hearing someone cheating can probably be very infuriating. If you're going to be blatantly open about it and not care, I don't see why she would be in the wrong. Taking shortcuts doesn't work. I mean, it might work for a little while, but it all catches up, I promise. Do the work, knock it out, grind. There are better ways to go about life. So I definitely don't think the OP would be the a-hole for doing what she needed to do.
So let me go ahead and give you the consensus. Redditors think she's not the a-hole if this is something that she wants to do. And let me go ahead and read you a top commenter in which there was some back and forth, in which it sounds like our poster's roommate really does need some help.
Okay.
This commenter said, agreed. As a professor, Please start with visiting your professor at office hours and explaining what is happening. The reason this is important is because your roommate may help themselves to your work without you knowing, at which point you can be accused of collusion. Speaking to your professor in person will go a long way towards addressing this, as they will have a better idea of your voice as a student. Then, tell them that you would appreciate their advice on pulling student mental health services into this situation. They will have the resources and can help you start the process. This way, you are protected, your professor is aware, and your friend can get the assistance they need.
That's fantastic advice. All I said was get out.
You can technically choose either way, but in this one, we actually have a professor and they were backed up by other professors in saying that this is a perfect way. Please go ahead and award this comment, because a lot of people don't realize that they have more choices than they truly realize, only because you're in the situation and it's so niche and so new.
Yeah.
It's so hard to predict what you should do and what the right steps are.
Well, it's good that they reached out and let her know, and hopefully she follows those steps, gets herself out of the situation and her roommate hopefully back on the right track, because maybe it sounds like she did lose herself a little bit in the college lifestyle.
Yes. A lot of people, I think.
It happens. You're young. You get swept up in it. Priorities get changed. You start looking at life a little different.
Change.
Yeah. It's a time in life. So some people get a little lost and have to find their way back. Hopefully she does.
Well, let's wish them the best on their college journey. And let's go to a house full of cats. For our next story.
Meow.
Am I the a-hole for calling my boyfriend ridiculous for feeling jealous of my cats? I have 2 cats. They are incredibly affectionate tuxedo cats that are 2 years old. I have been dating my boyfriend, River, for a few months now. He knows that I have cats. We went to my house the other day, and my cat was meowing and purring by the bag of treats. I said something in a baby voice and called my cat Lovey, and then gave him treats. We went upstairs, and my boyfriend said that it was kind of creepy that I would call my cat Lovey, and that makes him uncomfortable. While we were eating, my other cat jumped up on the chair and started purring and rubbing against me, and I started petting her while talking and eating. My boyfriend asked if I could cut it out, and I said that he was being ridiculous. I might have been a bit rude, but he says that I'm spending too much time with my cats and that most dogs are not as annoying as my cats. I felt a bit offended, but am I the a-hole?
So let's go on this journey together. OP doesn't give us her age. It sounds like a young person conundrum, because someone who's been established would never let you talk about their animal like that. Or think that it's silly to speak to them in any tone.
They've only been dating for a few months.
Okay, so she's yet to learn the boundaries, and he's going to learn. You do not speak of my cat like this. I don't think there's any one of us that has animals that we don't baby talk to or call, pet names to.
Oh, yeah. With our animals, we have at least 3 different names for them on top of their actual name.
Well, so I guess this is a good time to introduce you to our last dog. Her name is Quinn. And we have plenty of names for our dogs outside of their actual name.
Oh, yeah. Aside from Quinn's name actually being Quinn, I call her Quimangillion. And then because she's the smallest one of all of them, sometimes I call her Tiny.
Everyone does those type of things. It doesn't matter what animals. Yeah, it is odd that he goes out of his way to make a distinction between cats and dogs being less annoying than cats. And it has nothing to do with it being a cat or a dog. It's upbringing, right? It's how it was trained.
Definitely.
As far as you calling the cat Lovey, I don't get why he would have such a problem. That is a weird jealousy thing. Be careful of that. Again, I don't know how old you guys are. You do sound younger. I would put him in his place about that really early on. Back off. Stop having that weird opinion about a cat, because if he's doing that with a cat, get ready for what he's going to do with a human. That would start putting up a little bit of red flaggy stuff for me. But yeah, I definitely don't believe you're the a-hole for telling him. I would actually be a little more firm about it and set down the ground rules for that going forward.
Well, the consensus is that she's not the a-hole. In fact, everybody's saying, please choose the cats. These are big red warning signs. A lot of the times, you have a lot of people that go into these relationships and then force the other partner to get rid of their animals.
Are you serious?
You'd be surprised, people out there.
Really? People go into other people's lives and make them get rid of the cat. I'm so happy I found you so long ago. Because what? Why would you ever accept that from another person?
A lot of the times it's really weird jealousy, and to have somebody that's trying to oust or trying to come into a relationship knowing that you have these animals and try and force that animal out tends to not be a good person.
Yeah, I'm actually shocked that people would allow that in their relationships. Like it's a package deal. I don't know. You don't have to love the animal, but to expel it completely from someone's life. Yeah, take the advice, OP. Pick the cats.
Well, let's go ahead and leave this couple to their situation and go into our next one. Am I the a-hole for Venmo requesting my sister-in-law for hours I had to miss at work? My 35 female husband passed away a few years ago in an accident, so now it's just me and my son, 7. My husband was the main breadwinner, so it has been rough. I work until 8, and he gets out of school at 3. My sister-in-law doesn't work. Her husband owns a very successful business, and she helps out. Sister-in-law picks my son up from school and brings him to her house to hang out / do homework until I can pick him up. On Wednesday, she called me while I was already at work to tell me her and her husband got last-minute concert tickets, so she wouldn't be able to pick him up from school. I was pissed. It would be one thing if I knew in advance and could make other arrangements, but she just sprung it on me. I asked her to reconsider, reminded her that she made this commitment and it would be really shitty to break it. She still went to the concert. I have to leave work 6 hours early and lost out on all those hours. I figured since she put me in this spot, she should have to recoup me. My income is the only thing me and my son survive on. I sent her a Venmo request for the amount I lost out on. I got a nasty text from her a few minutes later about how she is not paying it. I had to send my son home from school with one of his friends yesterday and today because she won't pick him up. I told some of my friends and they are 50-50 on if I should have done it, but I need that income and she made a commitment to me and my son. I think that is more important than going to a concert to get drunk. Am I the a-hole?
All right. So, clarification, how old's the son?
7 years old.
He's very young. So he would definitely need someone watching after him. This isn't one of those situations where he's like above the age of 13 and he can stay home.
Correct.
You know, latchkey kid stuff.
Us.
Yeah. So she does say a couple times in her writing that she made a commitment. I keep hearing this commitment. What commitment was this?
That her sister-in-law would help her out.
Okay. She's helping her. I'm wondering if the commitment was ironclad every single day, forever until eternity. I'm going to watch your child. Okay, because that's the only way that makes sense to me. If she says she's going to help you, that's great. But it almost sounds like this is an open-ended deal Monday through Friday or her work week anyway. We don't know what that is. So that seems a little ridiculous. It is her child, not her sister's child. And when someone says they're going to help you, that's great, but you shouldn't be expecting that their entire life now revolve around your child Monday through Friday. I'm kind of shocked that she wouldn't have a little bit of foresight in this, that her starting this problem, where I'm guessing OP's sister doesn't charge OP to watch the child. That's not what this sounds like.
No, and just to go ahead and add to it, we have, remember, she's the sister-in-law, and I think she's actually the sister of the deceased husband.
Oh, wow. Okay, so this is a whole other wrinkle. She's doing this as a favor to her brother.
Correct.
Man. Whew. And I am sorry that her husband passed. She's trying. I can understand that. But that doesn't mean you get to hold your family members hostage when they decide to go keep living their life too. You have to be, as the parent, flexible around other people's schedule, especially when they're watching your child for free on a daily basis. She's very inconsiderate for the fact that she Venmo'd her for money, when again, her sister-in-law is watching the kid for free. We don't know how long this has been going on. I'm assuming it's been a couple years now.
Yeah, because it says a few years ago in an accident.
So where do you get off? Because now what you've done is, you've started a relationship problem with your sister-in-law, and now you have to go find someone to babysit your son. Did you win something from the war you started? I think you lost twice when you should have just understood that she wasn't an onus to you for helping you. Yeah, all right, I'll give you, it kind of sucks for the last minute thing, but that's what makes it a last minute thing. They don't tell you about it a couple days ahead of time. They got offered tickets, they wanted to go. I'm certain that your sister-in-law has gone above and beyond to try to help you. And unfortunately, because yes, your husband did pass away, I can understand those hardships and every penny counts. But that doesn't give you the right to run her life and then make her feel bad about not helping you one day. I hope that maybe you got good advice from Redditors and maybe you can fix your relationship with your sister-in-law, because it sounds like that was one of the only people in your corner at this time and you ran her off. So definitely, OP, you are the a-hole in my opinion. I think you need to readjust how you think when people do offer you a hand. It's not to hold your entire life up.
Wow, you summed everything up quite nicely. The consensus on Reddit is that she is the a-hole for this. She's getting literally a free service, is what everybody's saying. Her sister-in-law is doing this for free. If you would equate her lost wages to the one evening that was a bit difficult, she lost out on hours, she would be spending hand over fist on somebody watching her child.
Childcare? Oh, yeah.
Now, on top of that, a lot of Redditors were saying there should always be a plan B because you never know what could happen. Clearly, unexpected things happen in your life. This should be something that you should be more aware of. Contingency plan B should always be important when it comes to childcare. Now, they say it was very rude of her to actually send the Venmo and expect to be paid.
Well, that's where you started this war. Was there an update? Maybe she was able to fix it for her and her son?
Unfortunately, we see no update, no comments,
so
or
she's
moving
really
on the account.
Gonna take an L on this one.
Oh, yes. If anything, we actually had some people break down what it would be the cost of babysitting for those hours after a few years. And they equated it to being just for 3 years. And they said essentially it would be about $64,000 of unpaid childcare for the amount of hours that they're explaining.
I don't want to call her ungrateful, but it almost sounds like she's very unaware of the gift she got given.
Yes,
and
hands
now
down.
It's gone. And now you're going to realize, now that it's gone, how important it was.
We can only hope that maybe they meant it, because I can only imagine how difficult it is to be a single mother. Well, let's go ahead and leave this situation, and let's go on to our family dinner. For our next story, am I the a-hole for dumping my teenage daughter's dinner in the trash after she was rude to me?
Strap me in.
On a throwaway account for obvious reasons. I'm 44, a single dad, but 2 kids, Audrey, 16, and Emily, 12. We have a great relationship, but Audrey can sometimes be rude and demeaning, saying cruel things casually when she's displeased about something or in a bad mood. Emily, her little sister, looks up to her, often mimicking her behavior, which obviously worries me. I cooked a nice Sunday dinner, and Audrey stormed downstairs in a bad mood for who knows what reason. She was being a downer, whereas Emily and I were cheerful. I asked her to improve her mood, please, instead of ruining the dinner. She turned to me and unleashed her anger. To quote some of her elegant words, "Can you stop lecturing for once? You're annoying as f***, and seriously, you're the one who ruins everything." I stood up, took her plate, and dumped it in the trash can. I told her since she can't bother to show me any basic respect, she should start providing for herself from now on. She said she'll make cereal, and maybe I was an a-hole. I said no, that's my milk, and she should get a job to get her own groceries. I don't feel like I yelled at her. I felt I spoke calmly, but when she realized I was being serious, she got upset and started crying and ran to her room. We haven't talked since. Obviously, she's mad at me, but now my younger daughter is mad at me too, saying I acted like a huge jerk to her sister. I, of course, don't see it that way. I don't tolerate being spoken to with such disrespect, and it did hurt me a lot hearing Audrey say these things to me that were uncalled for. So was I the a-hole? Obviously not winning any Dad of the Year award, but will I be winning the a-hole of the year award? Edit. Forgot to include that my daughter also made a snide comment about the food not looking good, which was what triggered me to throw her plate away. Edit 2. I did ask her twice at the beginning what was wrong and why she was in such a bad mood. Her response was a sarcastic, "You wouldn't get it." I asked why not, she just sighed. Edit 3. Of course, I'm not going to starve her. I was just trying to make a point to her. Am I the a-hole?
Well, you've given us another smorgasbord of a story.
Mwah.
Yeah. So, father is very understanding of the light he's putting on himself. I guess we'll start with this. Audrey, is that the older one?
Correct.
She's 14.
16.
Oh, 16. So, she's going through all of fun life teenagerhood.
Oh, yes.
She's in the middle of it now.
There's probably some high school drama out there.
Yeah. So, obviously, you guys need to work on your communication. It does sound like she's got stuff going on in her life. It does not excuse her from talking to you like that at the table. That I can understand. But I guess at the end of the day, as a parent, I don't think I would have handled it quite the way he did.
How would you have handled it?
Definitely not throwing away dinner. Like I think that was a little much. And I don't know if it's because of the way the relationship has already gone up to this point. Maybe it was kind of like the straw that broke the back kind of situation. Because it sounds like this is kind of the way they talk to each other. And I don't know how long that's been going on, but that's not the way you should be talking to each other. There needs to be respect from the kid to the parent and from the parent to the kid. You've got to show them respect too. It's not a one-way street. It sounds like kind of maybe that's what it's been. I definitely would have had our kid come down with a attitude like that. I would have been like, well, it's time to go right back up to your room. Let them cool down, then go have a conversation with them. Figure out what's going on, because that's your responsibility as a parent. Because if they're coming at it like that, obviously something's not right. Instead of taking it as an affront to you, understand we've all been kids. We've all had bad days, and we've all, as kids, taken out our bad day on people we love the most around us.
I can't tell you how many times I heard, don't give me that attitude.
But it had nothing to do with you as the parent. But you made it worse by compounding the issue, by taking it as an affront to you. That's not how you should be going about business, especially when you're talking about kids. You should have sat her aside, talked to her after the fact, let everyone calm down, and then come back to the table afterwards. Have dinner together. It doesn't have to be a knockout, drag-out fight just because I wasn't shown the respect I deemed I needed at that moment. It should have been, hey, let's figure out what happened. Make it better. I think a lot of people could learn from it's one of the best sayings ever. It's first seek to understand, then be understood. I think a lot of people will go a lot further in life if they just learn to listen. So,
I definitely like that saying that you just shared.
I definitely think you're the a-hole, and maybe you guys need to go get in some family counseling, because I'm not sure, you don't know what's going on in your daughter's life, but I definitely know you guys need to learn how to communicate better.
Well, that sounds like really sound advice. So let me go ahead and give you Reddit's consensus. They say that he's definitely the a-hole. In fact, there's a lot of things that I learned here. I'm very much of a generation where if you did something, you would have things taken away from you.
Sure.
And it definitely was put over your head. I'm the provider and you're just using whatever I give you, but it's not yours. You didn't earn it. It's kind of an awful way to have lived under that. As an adult, it taught me to be very independent. But I didn't realize, at least until I read a lot of commenters and their situations that were similar to that, that independence stems because when parents utilize that as a punishing tactic, it shows a child that they can no longer depend on your love and support.
Yeah.
That you can take it away in the blink of an eye if you make them so far, even just a little bit unhappy.
Yeah.
And that's essentially what he's teaching his daughter. Now, another commenter actually provided some insight and said, when this situation happened, you should have told her exactly how you felt. I understand that you're going through a bad day. I don't appreciate you talking to me like that. And until you go ahead and think on what you've done, take your food and eat upstairs and cool down. When you're ready to talk, I'm here.
Sure.
That would have been a much better way to go about it. You're not using food or whatever it is that you provide as love and support to your child against them. And then you're letting them have the space until they think about what they've done.
Sure.
They think about how they feel and they think about how they acted out. So I honestly really appreciated a lot of the commenters' insight into this, as it really made me think personally, since I didn't like that kind of stuff happening to me as a kid. I know I made sure it wouldn't happen to our son like that, which is why I never spoke like that to our son. However, I never realized when people do that to their kids, this sort of happens. This
Sure.
sort of independence and is striving to become so independent that you don't expect support from anybody else. Well, I wish all those families the best, including this one. By the way, let me go ahead and update you on a small edit that he provided.
Oh?
He said, a vast majority of you think I'm the a-hole. I'll apologize and give her cereal.
You got some things to work on, but at least, hey, you can see it. That's a start.
Well, let's go ahead and walk away from this situation and see what's happening with a friend. For our next story, am I the a-hole for assuming my friend was keeping her partner away because I didn't like him when it was actually he didn't like me?
Saucy.
I, 38 female, have known Allie, 40 female, for 15 years. We first met at work when we were single and the youngest people there. We became good friends and socialized together and still do. Allie then met her partner, Matt, who she is still with years later. He does not share her interest. He is an avid football supporter, UK, and very anti the rival football team. Even when he doesn't go to watch matches live, he watches at the pub with male friends. He plays sports with his friends. She's a football widow. She likes going to the theater and to dinner. He'll go to dinner with her, but doesn't much enjoy the theater unless it's a serious play. She likes musicals, and she ends up going with female friends. She says she doesn't mind. They aren't joined at the hip, and she has plenty of friends and relatives who enjoy going to the theater with her, and that she doesn't want to go to football. I wonder. I am known for being brutally honest. When she introduced me to Matt, she asked my opinion, and I gave it. I didn't really see them together. I didn't like that he drinks and swears. He has a professional job, but isn't very refined, unlike her, and I find him a bit difficult to connect to. At the time, she was hurt, but got over it and generally just engineered it, so I never really saw him. He was always busy when I organized a party, etc. They now have 2 young boys, and he looks after them when she comes out with her friends. To be honest, more recently, my opinion of him has improved. He seems to be a really good daddy to the boys, and they clearly adore him. They are also football mad. It took me longer to meet my significant other, Edward, and we have just got engaged. Allie and Matt both attended our engagement party. Edward actually also likes football and ended up getting on really well with Matt. Later, I asked Allie if she'd be up for doing something as couples, as Edward and Matt got on well. She was non-committal. A few weeks later, I tried to arrange something and she accepted for herself, but Matt was busy. I explained I wanted to do something with the 4 of us when he was free. She kept stalling. I pushed it, maybe I shouldn't have, and she said it wasn't a good idea because he and I didn't get on. I said it was okay. I changed my opinion more recently and Edward liked him. She looked surprised and then awkwardly let me know it was because he didn't really like me. She thought I knew. I didn't, and I was upset. This was news. I asked her why. She was embarrassed, but said he found me judgmental and, quote-unquote, too much. I don't even know what that means. A few other examples as well. I was hurt and told her I had assumed she kept us apart because I didn't like him, not the reverse. She said that we didn't get on, so what difference did it make? I'm beyond hurt and did react badly and told her some home truths about him. I regret this now and tried to apologize, but she won't return my calls. Am I the a-hole?
This is a fantastic story. This is great because at the very tail end of this story, she goes, I thought that the reason why he doesn't want to be around me was because I disliked him. And now you're telling me that he disliked me. Like, that's perfect. I love these stories because people do give you some candid things that they don't have to. It's funny because you prejudged him for everything and he's calling you judgy. But you know what's really cool is that even though he had those opinions of you, every time you interacted with him, you never suspected that. So at least he was a good person. He didn't let that affect the way he treated you, even though clearly your judgment affected how you treated him.
That's very true.
So I think for you, this could be a good learning experience because you definitely sound like you live in a glass house and you like to throw rocks. Be less judgy. Be more accepting. That is her relationship with her husband. And then you proceed to attack her after she tells you the truth.
I wonder what kind of home truths she gave.
Yeah, that was an
him.
interesting statement. Home truths. All right. So I guess I'll wrap it up like this. I do believe you're the a-hole. You're very judgmental. And what's funny is you got a huge taste of that at the end of this tale.
Well, the consensus is that she is definitely an a-hole, and all of Reddit was ready to go ahead and cast their judgment on her.
I look forward to hearing this.
So let me go ahead and read this one response that I think made me chuckle a little. Let me get this straight. You said a bunch of incredibly rude things to someone's new partner. Then one day, decided you like them, actually, and didn't realize that everything you've ever done to them caused them to form an opinion of you? My girl. Every person who is not you in this world has a mind of their own and exists in the world outside of how they relate to your life. They all have deep inner worlds just as complex as your own. Not everything is about you. Oh, and you're the a-hole.
My girl.
I read that and that made me laugh because it's very true.
Yeah.
A lot of people say when somebody starts off by saying that they're brutally honest, it's just an excuse
They're rude.
for them to say that they're an a-hole when they say something.
Yeah.
That's it. There's no such thing as being brutally honest unless you want to be hurtful to someone.
I tend to stay away from people when they lead with that. You'll come to learn that I am brutally honest. No. I'm coming to learn that you're just telling me you're going to say some things that are offhanded and I should just deal with it. No, thank you.
Yeah, I tend to try and stay away from people like that.
That is so funny, though. I'm the problem? No. You're the problem. Now, I hate you. By the way, everything I said about him just now, that liking him, no. He's the worst. Please be my friend, though.
The nice part is she actually did seem to reflect in the comments.
Oh, good.
So that's the good part about all of this. Throughout everything that was happening that I could read through, the OP does seem to understand her stance and how she took everything was a very wrong way to go ahead and do that. And she was reflecting and actually said that this has caused her to do a lot of self-reflecting on who she is.
Oh, that's fantastic.
She's hoping to reach out, apologize, and says that she won't push the issue further, but hopes that their friendship can be salvaged. A little bit of good news. A slight silver lining.
I'll take back my dunk, maybe like half-hearted dunk.
It's still funny. So let's go on to our last story of the day. Am I the a-hole for telling my sister that our parents don't have to agree with her relationship? My 21 female sister isn't accepted by my 29 male parents for being gay. Throwaway account so my family can't link this back to me. For context, my little sister is a lesbian. Our family does not support her decisions, but I don't give a fuck who she sleeps with. When she came out, she was distanced from the family, but we started talking again after finding out our father is dying. After things in the family being rocky for a long time, we decided to all get together at my parents' house. My dad said he wanted to put all of the drama and bickering aside, and if we have a problem with each other, we can wait until he passes. Everyone agrees, including my sister, so I was expecting to have a nice family barbecue. My family wanted to meet my sister's girlfriend and insisted that she brought her over. We were all excited to meet her. My sister's girlfriend seemed to be a nice girl, but she was very standoffish. She kept to herself and didn't speak much to my parents and me. For the most part, she was glued to my sister. This caused some awkward silence. I started asking about her relationship. How did they meet? How long have they been together? And I even joked around about if she hurt my sister, blah, blah, blah. My parents started acting stranger by each question. I asked my mom what was wrong, and her response was, "This isn't right." I could tell my sister and her girlfriend were uncomfortable, and my dad tried to calm my mom down. My sister, probably fed up with being treated like shit for the last few years, spoke up and asked my parents what was the point of inviting them if she wasn't going to be okay with seeing them together. This caused my mother to explode with anger because she felt like my sister was being disrespectful. My mother goes on to say a lot of other things that I'm not going to say because I will be banned. My sister started to cry and hyperventilate. Her girlfriend starts to comfort her and tries to get her to calm down, and this causes my mom to tell her that if you're going to be dramatic and act like a child, you need to leave. You're upsetting your father. Before my mother could respond, her girlfriend is grabbing their things and taking my sister to the car. I try to rationalize this whole situation with my parents. They are of no use. They thought she was putting on a show in front of her girlfriend to make them look bad. They proceeded to say that they're allowed to be uncomfortable and feel differently than her. I explained to them that this is who she loves. No one has to agree with it, but we should still love her. I've tried talking to my sister about the whole situation, and apparently I defend our parents too much. I told her that our parents don't have to agree with her relationship, but they should. She told me that I'm being an a-hole for expecting her to pretend to be someone else just because our dad is dying. Am I the a-hole?
Well, this is the Spice Meatball of Wednesday, and this is a very severe story. I am sorry that your father is ill. Having said that, it does not give people a right to invite someone over under the guise of peace and then do what you guys did. So, youngest sister is lesbian, and it's very clear that the parents do not agree with any of that. Youngest sister does bring up a good question. Why invite her and her girlfriend if they were just going to do this? I don't like that their mother at the table outright says, this isn't right. That's disgusting. You should have held your opinions to yourself. especially if you're trying to mend the fence. What good did it do for you to pass more judgment in that moment? OP is right. It shouldn't matter to anyone else who you love. So that's very sad that they have that outlook on your younger sister, because it looks like it's completely destroyed that family. I feel bad for the little sister because it kind of sounded like at least she was trying to also reach the olive branch out, especially when they know that their father will be passing away soon. But it sounds like nothing changed.
Sometimes there's a lot of people that cannot put their viewpoints to the side to respect how other people decide they want to live their life.
And that's the worst part is, like, you may not agree with it, and that's your life. If that's how you want to act and be, it's terrible, but no one can tell you what to do. But what you aren't allowed to do is attack someone like that, especially under the guise of peace.
I think a lot of people forget freedom goes both ways.
Sure.
You can be free to be a bad person, and you can be free to be a good person. And someone's values on what is good and bad can be very different.
The spectrum is wide.
It's what I would deem as a good thing. Other people might not agree with that. And what I might deem as a bad thing, also, they might not agree with that. This is where you have to agree to disagree. And no matter what, there should always be that
Respect.
Foundation of respect.
Gotta have it. And the brother clearly, I understand maybe from his point of view where he's trying to like hold both of them up, right? Like support both sides, but you can't. One side is definitely wrong. You gotta, as the brother in this situation, you should have had your sister's back. You should have put your parents in their place and let them understand that going forward, this isn't how we're conducting business. If you want to have our sister in our life, you need to just respect that that's who she is. Stop trying to mold people into what you think they should be. But yeah, I definitely believe that you are the a-hole, OP.
Well, I've got quite a bit of insight to go ahead and bring on this whole story. So first things first, of course, Redditors came in and flooded the comments and essentially was telling them that he is the a-hole. You had some people that's like, your sister is making like a big dramatic deal out of nothing. And then you had the other side that was literally saying you essentially put her there to be ostracized.
That's where I'm like, why would you have invited her if the only thing was to attack her?
Now, here comes the other shoe that drops. Our poster became really defensive with every commenter that had negative things to say. It was quite a scene, in my opinion.
Uh-oh.
And it had a lot of hackles raised when it came to our commenters. Honestly, I'm not there to start a fight. In my opinion, once you put any one of these posts up, it's up for anybody to provide their insight.
Sure.
That's what this forum is for. And sometimes you might not like the medicine that you're being forced to drink.
You got to take the good and the bad.
So you had some people who did agree with him, and you could definitely tell they're not very empathetic individuals or compassionate at all. And then you had the other side that was very understanding of the sister. Either they encountered these plights themselves or they have family members that have been through these types of situations, and it had them providing insight into this. So then you had another flood of commenters come in and essentially say, why would you go ahead and post this up if all that you're going to do is combat everybody and their viewpoints?
I ask that all the time now. If you're unwilling to see it, that you could be wrong, then don't post it.
It's a whole thing. But it seems that after a while of going back and forth and possibly getting a lot of private messages from Redditors, that he seems to have seen the light just a little. So let me go ahead and actually share with you just one comment that he provided. He said, after receiving so much backlash from this post, I realized that I wasn't completely innocent in this situation. I called my sister to apologize and try to talk through things. I told her about the post I made, despite wanting to keep this away from my family, and said that a lot of people explained to me how I am being harmful and hurting her. I wanted her to see that I'm talking to some people who have been in a similar situation to her, and I thought she would see this as a sign that I'm trying for her. She got really upset that I didn't come to her instead of the internet, but I told her I felt like I had no other choice. Our parents wouldn't listen to me, she wouldn't listen to me, and the only people who have are strangers online. I explained that I got a lot of advice on how I can support her from other people a part of her community. My sister told me that I had no right to talk about her business online without consulting her, even if it's anonymous. She wanted to see the post. I assumed that she saw some of my comments I made when I was being defensive and immature, and in hindsight, I should have deleted them before agreeing to send her the post. She started to cry and told me that we've always made her feel like a burden on our family for things that she can't help. Being lesbian, having a panic disorder, and some other things that I won't share out of respect for her. She went on to say some other things, but they are hard to understand. I apologize for making her uncomfortable and making her feel like a burden. I also told her that I love her and nothing will change that. Before I had the chance to say more, her girlfriend took the phone and told me that I needed to leave my sister alone. She said that I can't contact my sister until she's ready to talk to me. Then she hung up. It was really heartbreaking to hear my sister cry over something that I had good intentions for. I texted her privately and asked if she wanted me to take the post down, and she told me that she doesn't care. She just wants to be left alone.
There's a lot of hurt in that family.
So it sounds like her parents were blaming her for things that were out of her control, essentially despise her for being a lesbian. They shame her for having things that mentally cripple her. And they are one of the cruxes that's mentally crippling her.
They're not helping it.
It's sad, so much so that when her brother's trying to help, for her, it's not helping.
Well, that's a very tough story. I hope that with time and healing, because there has to be a lot of that his sister comes back to the table at some point and they can work on their relationship, because it does sound like he does love her. You know, that's just something that you definitely have to wait for your sister to come back to the table. You can't force her.
Oh, definitely not.
So, but this is allowing him to work on himself. It looks like he got some perspective, and keep trying, because that's all you can do, OP, is keep trying to be a better version of yourself every day.
That's all that you can do. I wish them the best. It's only been about a couple months since this happened, so.
Well, as our stories come to a close, don't forget, you see in the world what you carry in your heart.
If you have enjoyed listening to us read and talk about today's stories, please rate, subscribe, and turn on notifications for new content. We are regularly posting on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Also, we would love to hear your thoughts in the comments section below, especially about this last situation. What is your advice for the poster?
And remember, if you post it, maybe we'll see it on the internet.